Instead of spending hundreds of dollars on video upscalers and HDMI capture cards just to be able to capture footage from old video game consoles, why not just get an old BT878 based capture card and make fairly decent quality recordings at 60 FPS with it? I'll show you how to accomplish just that. Hello, this is Lengai64 and it appears I've been transported to the year 2000s instead of the year 2020 during New Year's. Just kidding, I'm just trying out a new filming setup involving my VX1000 because my New Year's resolution is 480i. Not really. It's actually more to do with the fact that this VX1000 is quite literally the only video camera I have that can film at 60 frames per second. After the DV video had been processed, to be exact. Because I can't be bothered to deal with 50 FPS videos from my LX7 anymore. In the meantime, I'm gonna be presented in standard def, at least the real life footage. But I'll use the LX7 to take pictures. I'm trying out the new format, I suppose. I still use the LX7 in the production, but only in static photos, which the LX7 is really what it's really designed for. It's not exactly made for video, even though it can do video, but it has the limitations. And also the VX1000 has features, capabilities that makes it easier to film things like this much easier, which I'll go on about in the end of this video. So I was hoping to get this video done before the end of this year, but I decided to take it slow because my initial idea for this video was basically just gonna be a quick rush job, and it didn't exactly feel right when I realized it would be quite a rush job. So I decided to just take my time with it, and I even did some live streaming, learning more about the capture device that I'll be demonstrating when I was streaming Halo or Halo and a bit of Vigilante 8, because the capture device that I'm gonna talk about, capture cards that are based on a Conexant BT878 or Fusion 878A chipset, they have quite a lot of potential, and I just wanted to do a video of this because it'll be really useful to those who want to capture gameplay or do live streams from old game consoles at high quality and at 60 frames per second. And these BT878 cards are usually very cheap. It'll be quite a decent affordable option. No need to buy an AverMedia Live Gamer capture card and an expensive video upscaler of some kind. So yeah, I guess that's it for this intro. I want to keep this short. Last one was quite long. So anyway, enough rambling. I'll get on with it. This is my AverMedia M160C TV tuner card, which is one of many TV tuner cards that uses the popular Conexant Fusion 878A video decoder chip used by various companies such as Hauppauge and LeadTech, to name a few. I'll be calling this card and the chip BT878 for the rest of this video, since cards that use the chip usually work more or less the same between cards. This chip does not have the Brooktree branding, which a BT acronym would suggest, but it is pretty much a slightly updated BT878 chip, only with Conexant's branding, as Rockwell purchased Brooktree before it was subsequently spun off by its parent company and became Conexant Systems Inc. There were of course chips under the Rockwell branding, but kept the BT acronym, usually the older but still good BT848s. I have two of these cards, which I got for free from one of my local surplus stores 6 years ago, as they thought they don't have any use or value to anyone and were about to dispose of it. Well, except for me, as it turns out, as they became my #1 analog video capture card since. The other card is currently in my place of work, using a video capture rig I've set up there for digitizing video tapes, and I've only brought it home in this instance so I can film the two cards together. Ah, they look lovely together. Wait a minute. Is this video being made by an internet pansy? Because this looks very blurry. Let me fix that. There, much better. I already had a TV tuner card, which was a CDR King branded one, that appears to be a rebranded Super TV Pro judging by the name of the software it came with, and the initials on the seal screen which suggest Super TV. I used to use this a lot to basically DVR Phineas and Ferb and other cartoons I like, from analog cable, long before I started taking YouTube seriously. This uses the Philips SAA7134 video decoder chip, which is also a very good chip. In this case it is under the Trident brand, which is probably where this SAA7134 design ended up to when Philips got bored of it. Unlike the BT878, the SAA7134 received 64-bit driver support for Windows, whereas the BT878 only ever received 32-bit drivers, even the unofficial third-party ones. So the SAA7134 would probably be the better option to those who can't be bothered to use Linux for whatever strange reason. I have no idea if the SAA7134 still works in Windows 8.1 or the piece of shit 10 that everyone uses. On the other hand, the BT878 is supported quite well in both 32-bit and 64-bit versions of Linux, as it includes kernel modules for Brooktree-based capture cards, including the BT878. The unclaimed audio capture can be made to work with some tweaking if your card is identified as a generic BT878 like mine, but it isn't really useful as it is usually wired to capture audio from the TV tuner, unless your particular card features inline input jacks. Ironically, the SAA7134 does not appear to be supported as well as the BT878 in Linux, at least with my card. There's only one input to select to and the video capture doesn't seem to look right, as if something isn't being wired together correctly. It used to work fine in Linux before, and I have no idea what happened that made it not work properly in Linux, despite working fine in Windows. Probably some moron broke the driver in an update. Guess which OS I'll be using for the majority of this video, and if you're a Windows only user, well, too bad. Oh, the BT878 driver that comes with snappy drivers is absolutely fucking useless, because it barely seems to work when I tried it out, and it's not possible to change the input. It only accepts a resolution of 320 by 240 or it captures nothing for some idiot reason. I recommend sticking to the driver made specifically for the card. For my SAA7134, it is either an ITVC1 or Super TV Pro. I'll provide them on my website's FTP in case you need them, because finding capture card drivers is generally a pain in the fucking ass for whatever reason. I also provide ones for AverMedia BT878s if I can find them in my archives, though they are 32-bit only. These issues are only relevant if you swear by Windows. I do not recommend using the capture software that would originally come with the capture cards, however, as they often do not encode interlaced frames properly, as in the case of the software for my AverMedia cards, or they do a stupid 30 FPS deinterlace that doesn't look really good anyway, as with the case of the Super TV Pro. Plus, they usually can't encode to modern codecs, so I recommend using OBS to capture video if you can help it. But sometimes you will need the software to adjust picture settings, as with the case of the Super TV Pro card, because for some utterly retarded reason the picture controls are not exposed in the Video for Windows API, so you won't be able to tweak picture settings without said software. Fortunately, the settings persist when you use different software to capture. And before you mention it, no, don't bother with those USB easy caps and the many clones it has spawned, because it has a shit hardware deinterlace which cannot be disabled, so it's impossible to get 60 frames per second if you can't get the fields individually. In that case, they only serve to encourage the stupid NTSC's 30 FPS belief. The inputs are really shit on those things anyway, so don't even bother, unless you like wasting money and making shit quality captures while at the same time plugging your ears from criticism by disabling comments like a pussy if you're a content creator. And I don't recommend any capture card that's based on the Conexant CX23880 family, such as the 23883 and 23887, as they have problems capturing fields properly when capturing non-interlaced video from old consoles. Plus, only certain cards that use that chip actually work in Linux. Mine's not one of those cards, therefore it's a piece of shit. BT848 and BT878 based cards come in various configurations, from very basic models featuring only RF or Composite, to models featuring both with the addition of S-Video, which are the most preferred, sometimes with line inputs and even a jack for an FM radio antenna. There are also exotic cards that feature hardware video encoding, or multiple Brute 3 chips and a shitload of BNC inputs used for digital CCTV systems. I don't recommend getting those cards as there's no guarantee that they'll appear as a generic BT848 or 878 card. While the cards I've shown do work in Linux, the last card I've shown may go for a pretty penny and is generally not worth getting. Like, what else would you do with the ability to capture 4 composite video sources at once anyway? Stream 4 games on 4 consoles at once? Actually, that'd be pretty useful for speedrunning races. Obviously, you'll need a computer that features PCI slots to, well, fit the PCI cards into. If your system is new enough, there's a high probability that it won't have such slots anymore, and obviously, you can't use these cards unless you have one of those PCI to PCIe adapters, which tend to go for a pretty penny and would be quite awkward to use as they usually only fit small form factor height cards. And I'm doubtful of BT878 based tuner cards that are small form factor compatible. So you'll have to make do with an older system that does feature PCI slots. Low to mid-range Socket 1150 and AM3 boards, as well as some early Socket 1151 and AM4 boards do feature PCI slots. Pair it with at least a quad-core processor or faster, and it should have enough grunt to deinterlace at 60 FPS and encode 480p H.264, maybe 720p if it's fast enough, which would grant for the ability to livestream at 720p 60 FPS with OBS. 1080p if hardware H.264 encoding is available in the form of Intel QuickSync or NVENC if you have a compatible CPU or graphics card. You can still do 60 FPS captures with a dual-core 3rd gen or older Intel or an AMD Athlon 2 system, but you'll have to encode with interlaced MPEG-4 at 40i with a very high bitrate to get close to lossless quality as possible, which you'll then deinterlace and transcode to H.264, preferably on a faster computer, after recording, as MPEG-4 is much less intensive to encode than H.264, and you'll need the speed to make sure that the encoder can keep up with the tuner card and not miss a single frame, and still have enough CPU overhead to encode MP3 for the audio. Live streaming at 60 FPS is very unlikely on these systems, even on dual cores with hyperthreading. While it may be possible to make use of a graphics card capable of encoding H.264 in hardware, I don't quite recommend doing things on a dual core anymore, especially when software nowadays demands at least a quad-core minimum because the future of software development is bloat. And it's shit. You can even do away with a 2.8 GHz Pentium 4 HT for capturing, encoding interlaced MPEG-4 with MP3 audio. The video capture system I have set up at work is a 2.8 GHz Pentium 4 HT, and it can manage to capture several hours of video no problem, with 0 frames dropped. Though the system runs Debian Jessie, which probably performs better on older systems than the current kernels that have stupid CPU security patches that cater to paranoid Nancy boys, and possibly being more bloated in general, so the results may vary if you're using a newer kernel on such a system. Obviously, live streaming is definitely not possible on such a system. Simply isn't fast enough. I usually use FFmpeg to capture video instead of OBS Studio, because I don't really trust OBS for making flawless captures, as it seems to drop frames on occasion, which I do not experience when capturing using FFmpeg. In fact, the captures I've made using FFmpeg are generally flawless as far as captured frames go. The only downside is that there's no preview of the incoming video signal when using FFmpeg, so it may be a bit of an inconvenience in certain setups. Plus it's command line only, which some people often don't like to deal with for some reason. Before doing any capturing with the BT878 card, you must first configure it using the Qt V4L2 test bench utility, as programs that support V4L2 devices such as OBS and FFmpeg don't have options to set things like capture resolution. I don't know exactly which package this program comes from, but it may be included in certain Qt4 or 5 runtime packages, though this may vary from distro to distro. From here, you can select the video input, video standard, and frame resolution. The last one you must set to 720 by 480 for NTSC sources, or 720 by 576 for PAL. Make sure the resolution is correct for each video standard, otherwise the fields will get ruined by scaling and basically rendering the video impossible to deinterlace properly. You can also change brightness, contrast, and other picture settings, as well as preview the capture. and changing the picture settings applies to the preview immediately. But make sure you set the pixel format to YUYV422, as the utility does not know how to handle other 422 pixel formats, or you'll get garbage in the preview. You also need to untick the OpenGL preview option, as the preview would remain stuck the next time you open up the preview window for some reason. Never mind the preview looking like some shitty analog video capture by an amateur wannabe video archivist uploading unprocessed interlaced video directly onto YouTube. I'll show you how to deal with that later. I recommend setting the saturation to somewhere around 38656 to get good vibrant colors in your capture. I'm not exactly sure what Chroma AGC really does, but it seems to improve colors a tiny bit. Don't bother with full luma range because this setting seems to be inverted, as setting it yields more saturated looking colors, as if it's on limited range mode. These settings will persist until the system has been powered off or restarted, so you may want to write a little shell script that sets your preferred settings through V4L2CTL if you do captures very often. Don't bother with the brightness and contrast settings too much, as it's impossible to find the right setting for very bright scenes and very dark scenes without causing oversaturation or darkening the image too much. So you may as well just leave it to its default settings. It probably has something to do with the NTSC color space being different from sRGB that computer displays use, assuming they still use sRGB today. And the best way you can get around to this brightness issue is by use of a gamma filter or something. After configuring the capture device, you can add it to your OBS scene as a V4L2 video device. You can select the input pixel format in video standard from here, but I recommend leaving the last one unchanged for consistency with the settings made with the utility earlier, and that you cannot specify the capture resolution to the capture device through OBS for some idiot reason. I recommend setting YUV422 as the pixel format and untick the use buffering option, as that only yields very choppy results. So you've added the capture device to your scene and it still looks like a shitty interlaced video upload and no sign of 60 FPS, you say, whilst probably thinking that I'm just a trolling idiot and that these capture cards are actually shit. What if I tell you, simply right click the video feed, go to the deinterlacing menu and select retro. Boom! There's your flawless 60 FPS video capture with no sign of those interlaced artifacts. Happy now? Before I go any further, I would like to rant about how I strongly believe NTSC being 30 FPS is utter bullshit, because any NTSC television screen actually updates at 60 Hz, or 59.94 if you want to be that exact. As otherwise harder console games on systems that output in 480i able to display 60 FPS on an NTSC television when the standard is supposedly 30 FPS according to stupid Wikipedia among others, when the game I'm showing here is clearly running at 60 FPS on an NTSC television. Or how about I step things up a bit with a 1080i native display such as my HD CRT. And as you can see, this is the PC version of Spyro Reignited running at 60 FPS and does indeed look like 60 FPS on this HD TV. How come it looks like that when 1080i is supposedly 30 FPS according to most destinations? And no, I'm not using any motion interpolation bullshit in this footage whatsoever. Otherwise, you'll see a lot of artifacts from the interpolation, aside from the occasional corrupt blocks from using DV tapes, because I still use DV tapes as I refuse to use any video footage from my LX7 anymore, because fuck 50 FPS video. Fields may be the more accurate term in what I'm talking about, but my arrogant brain and general idiocy insists that fields are actually frames and interlaced NTSC video is 60 FPS. With two half-resolution frames interleaved together in the context of digital processing of interlaced video, or pairs of half-resolution frames for both so-called fields to yield a pseudo-double-resolution image on a TV in the analog realm. But well, this is coming from some twat who hasn't worked in any professional video editing and processing field whatsoever, so anything I say may as well be invalidated. I've done a couple of interlaced experiments on the PS1 side of things, such as this trick where I achieve an effective 480i display of an image while in 320 by 240 mode. Not that it really matters anyway in this discussion. What infuriates me about NTSC being touted as 30 FPS is that you end up with a bunch of quote-unquote video archivists who transfer video from tapes and deinterlacing them at 30 FPS, sometimes uploading them with no deinterlacing at all, which results in half the quality of the video getting lost in my opinion, or making the video look like shit with combing artifacts all over the place, the fields of which cannot be recovered very well thanks to progressive compression of interlaced frames, usually ruining it. And it sucks because I wanted to see 90s CG and video animations of old commercial brakes and bumpers of Cartoon Network deinterlaced at 60, as a lot of them were actually 60 FPS sequences, but can't because all the uploads I find are shitty 30 FPS transfers. One example is this trailer of the then upcoming Powerpuff Girls movie I remember seeing on TV as a little twat, and I remember it being 60 FPS because my tiny peanut brain actually noticed it being very smooth. Though granted, most of those videos were uploaded when YouTube didn't support 60 FPS yet, and I hope they'll be transferred again and uploaded at 60 someday, assuming anyone would ever bother doing, which I doubt, because if it's already on YouTube, then why bother uploading another of the same thing, right? You know what? I suppose most people are just terrible at transferring VHS tapes, and it's not even that hard to make a good quality transfer to start with, and you don't even need to get a BT878 card or learn how to use FFmpeg just to make a good quality transfer from VHS tapes if you're reluctant to deal with those things. Just get a DVR that isn't shit and can record the DVDs for cheap from a Goodwill or some other place selling used shit, and use Handbrake to extract video from the DVD, upscale it to 1080p, and make sure the aspect ratio is correct, and deinterlace it at 60 FPS. There, you've made a ready to upload VHS transfer that's a bazillion times better than most of the shit transfers people have uploaded onto YouTube. Instead of using those cheap shitty USB VHS converter things such as Easy Caps you bought from eBay and uploading the video as it comes out of the usually shit capture software it comes with. Here's an excellent example of a good VHS transfer kindly provided by Nintendo.
Le goût c'est tout. Maintenant, vous pouvez trouver le super bon goût d'orange joulep de Gibaud dans votre magasin préféré. Toujours avec le goût crémeux et juteux, vraiment rafraîchissant et délicieux. Agitez la bouteille!
I hope VHS transfers will one day look like this on YouTube someday, assuming people will ever improve their ways. Oh, and make sure you're using a VHS machine that isn't shit and has hi-fi, as that would help immensely in your transfer quality, especially the audio side of things. Enough ranting. For coherency, what you basically need to do to get 60 FPS video out of interlaced video is to somehow retrieve unique frames out of each field of video. This can be accomplished by the use of a deinterlace filter, which not only eliminates the annoying combing artifacts, but also interpolates the fields together to get close to progressive looking video frames. This is why I call any video capture device that does on-hardware deinterlace you cannot disable to be utter shit, such as the USB shitty caps, and anyone who thinks those capture devices are better because there are no combing artifacts are complete and utter fools. For non-interlaced video, a very simple process of separating the fields into individual frames is most appropriate, as each field is effectively a unique frame in this video resolution. This is what the retro deinterlace filter in OBS does more or less, but make sure you set the pixel format to YUV422p as lower color depths as the field interpolate to one another for some reason, which was a mistake I made on a number of my video captures, which I did not realize until much later. In FFmpeg, the separate fields filter does more or less the same thing, but you additionally need to use the scale filter with the nearest neighbor flag set to double the height of the frames, as separate fields halves the vertical resolution of the frames. For interlaced video, linear 2x and YADIF 2x are more appropriate as they're designed for standard 4AI video. While they still work for non-interlaced video, the retro filter yields the best results for such video sources, and make sure you select the 2x variants because they are double frame rate, which equals to 60 FPS. The non-2x variants only output 30 FPS, but may yield better results for games that run at 30 FPS. Linear is the simpler deinterlace filter but exhibits a little bit of twitter, which is what the flickering is called, on horizontal lines. YADIF, on the other hand, is the most powerful deinterlace filter and generally yields a solid progressive image, and is what I use to deinterlace footage from my VX1000. But as with the general nature of interlaced video, any vertical movement will reveal the true resolution of the video. In other words, lines or edges will appear more jagged when moving vertically. YADIF has some disadvantages, namely it leaves some artifacts, particularly around elements that flicker to the frame rate or vanish in a single frame sometimes. The side effect of an interpolation based deinterlace filter, really. Anyway, I suppose this more or less covers up pretty much everything you need to know on how to make high quality video captures and live streams with these old but very good video capture cards. Whether or not you found this information to be useful depends on you, really. I've been using these capture cards for years and they've been serving me well ever since. Oh, and one noteworthy thing about the BT878 and similar cards over modern video capture methods is that these things are quite resilient to video signal changes. As in, it simply doesn't give a fuck and just carries on when subjected to a video resolution change, or a VHS recording dropping out into a garbled mess. Can your 3-figure scaler and capture setup tolerate this without blanking out for a few seconds, or worse, crashing the capture card resulting in a completely unusable video file? So yeah, there really isn't much else to say about these capture cards once you figure out how to capture video with them. There isn't really much that can be done with the NTSC versus sRGB color space thing, because well, OBS doesn't have a filter that uses color ramps, and the Kdenlive also doesn't have a color ramps filter either. I guess the concept of color ramps are obsolete nowadays because everyone uses digital cameras, right? So yeah, these capture cards are really good. The BT878 and to some extent the 848 and SA7134. They're really good, especially when like capturing a VHS video that tends to have video dropouts, where a more modern video capture solution will develop problems from said dropouts, which would make transferring them properly a bit tricky. Or also handbrake. You cannot actually upscale video with that. It will only either transcode at the same source resolution or transcode to a lower resolution, which is dumb. You cannot transcode to a higher resolution. So you're going to need a video editor to upscale your deinterlaced video from your DVD recorder and whatnot. You may as well just use FFmpeg to do both at once instead. I think there are like graphical front ends that make using FFmpeg a bit easier to those who are not comfortable with using a command line for some bit strange reason. So yeah, well, that's not exactly capture card related, but still it's kind of similar somewhat with the crappy VHS transfers thing that I'm starting to get tired of, because people still don't transfer VHS tapes properly, I would imagine. So yeah, I don't think it'll make much of a difference because I bear no significance in the internet whatsoever, and I probably sound like an entitled moron, and I don't mind that because I want to annoy people, to be honest. I want to drive people away from subscribing to this stupid little channel. But anyway, yeah, these capture cards, I hope to keep using them for as long as possible because they're really good, and I got them for really cheap. And I've been using them for so many years, and they're still serving me quite well. Though I think they might need recaps to mend some of the video noise I'm getting with it. Mostly like I forgot what it's called, but it's basically like rolling, some kind of rolling pattern. I'm not sure if that's the caps on the capture card being a bit old now, or if it's dependent on the power supply. But it still happens on my Z600 workstation, which should have a very clean power supply. It's a Delta power supply that isn't shit. So yeah, I might look into that. So yeah, I guess that's alright. One more thing. The BT878 and those capture cards, you can use the tuner to like tune to like the early video game consoles that only output RF. I wasn't able to demonstrate it in this video, but mainly because I could not use the tuner facilities on my capture card in Linux, likely because it's identified as an unknown or generic card. Maybe with a bit of twiddling I could get it to work, but to be frank, it's much better to just hook up your RF console to a TV and then just hook the composite output of your TV to the capture card. It's better that way, especially when you have like a zero lag view of the game to play on if you intend to live stream. But you still want that kind of setup when you're capturing gameplay anyway. So yeah, these capture cards still they're really good. Got them for very cheap, and they should still be had for very cheap as well, because they were like everywhere in the early 2000s. They should be quite abundant. I recommend the VT878 and 848s most because they seem to be the most compatible in my experience. Though I have not come across an 848 chip card so far. So yeah, I guess there's that. Sorry for this being spliced in, but I forgot to mention this camera I'm using. Well, I went back to 40i because this VX1000 is quite literally the only video camera I have that records at NTSC rate, and I can't bring myself to deal with the 50 FPS videos from my LX7 anymore. Plus the LX7 has limitations that the VX1000 doesn't have, some of which actually makes filming these sort of things easier because, well, I can hook up my little color TV onto it because it has composite outputs, and I can see immediately what the video will turn out filming this. LX7, I had to peer at the back and hope that everything is correct or something. And the HDMI output on that thing only works when it's in playback mode. It doesn't work when it's in camera mode. Won't surprise me if that's a deliberate limitation so that it doesn't eat into the sales of video cameras, because of course. And also, what's annoying about the LX7 is that the hardware in it can actually record at 60 FPS. So when I was like working on like the HD CRT video or my 120Hz CRT videos, when I pointed on I set the shutter speed to 60 and then pointed at the screen before I start recording. The picture on the screen looks solid, but as soon as I start recording, it flickers. And that's also something you might have noticed with my shots of TV screens with this camera. They're completely flicker free because it's in sync with the frequency rate of the TVs. So yeah, I'm not gonna go back on the VX1 on the LX7 anymore. I'm gonna stick around with the VX1000 for a while. Though though I plan to get a full HD camera at some point, a real video camera this time, so I can be presented in full HD again. I'm eyeing on a JVC GY-HM70U, which should suit my needs, if not more or less. And not only do I need that for my videos, but I also need it for my work. In the meantime, I'm actually using my VX1000 to film stuff at work whenever there's events and whatnot. And I want to have a better video camera so to keep up with the times, because, well, full HD is the new standard definition these days. So yeah, I'm also looking to get a new capture card as well. Not to replace my marvelous BT878 cards with, but something that I will use to capture 8 high definition sources. Considering getting a Blackmagic Design Intensity Pro, or rather I like to call them as Intensity Noobs. I know about their problems and they can be a bit unwieldy, but they're cheaper than the other options, plus like a StarTech, but they have component inputs, so which will be useful when I want to stream some Xbox games that support full HD modes. Original Xbox, not Xbox One. So yeah, also the GY-HM70U should go for, well, it's still 3 figures, but they shouldn't go for too much. So because studios are probably dumping them in favor of upgrading to like 4K cameras, especially when the HM70U is supposedly discontinued now. But it's probably been discontinued for a while already, taken over by the 4K capable GY-HM170U. So yeah, to those who subscribe to this channel in the first place for CRT monitors, well, don't expect me to upload any CRT related video in a while, if ever, because, well, repairs on my old RDF223H seem rather doubtful. I've been working on that thing for a long time now, since 2018, trying to repair it. 2018 I did a recap, and this 2019 not so much. This year I found the problem why there's like convergence issue, misaligned convergence on the corners of the picture. It's the trimmers on the top which I believe adjust the corner convergence. But well, two of those trimmers were rusted, so but I could not find the exact ones. One of them was a 100 value trimmer, but I don't think it's a 100 value trimmer. 100 value as in it's coded under, it uses the same value encoding as like surface mount resistors. So like 100 value resistor would be 10 ohms. So a 100 value trimmer would be 10 ohms as well, or I think it would be. But well, I could not find any 10 ohm trimmers whatsoever. The smallest I could find are 100 ohms. So I ordered those and then stuck it in. And well, I could not adjust it properly still. I could not align the convergence properly. Maybe I had to like adjust that one more trimmer on the main board, which I think controls the power or the zoom of the convergence. Hard to explain properly, but yeah, that's the only other trimmer I could find on the damn thing. You know what's worse is that the video processing seems to have developed a problem where it would sync to video for a while, but after a short moment it would lose picture and it would display a message. It would display a message that there's no signal coming in, but but the message displays that it's getting sync signals, but it's not able to pick it up properly for some reason. I think the caps on the part have gone bad, but I don't know. Things getting dire. That thing was left outside for a while and rained on a little bit, but I managed to keep using it for quite a while back in 2014, 2015. And then I had to fall back to like a stupid LCD monitor when it developed contact problems that caused high voltage to drop out or make the picture blank out. I don't know. I cannot. And then what's worse, I cannot get any of these monitors anymore. And not only that, my monitors are dying. That RDS 171X, it's not a very significant monitor. It's a lower tier display really, but it's pretty good. It doesn't use a Diamondtron chip, but the screen, the picture quality on that thing is quite sharp, even at 1280 by 1024. Well, that has developed problems with high voltage, where it would drop out after a short while. The picture would just collapse. My dad told me it has something to do with a high voltage transistor, not a transformer, a transistor that's bolted onto a big chunk of aluminum. That might be the problem, but I'm not sure. And I have no tools to properly test it, or at least safely, without zapping myself with 15 kilovolts of electricity. So yeah, and then yeah, I could not get any of these monitors whatsoever. They're absolutely fucking scarce here now. And what's worse, there was a computer surplus store that used to sell a load of those things, and there were even 21 inches, they told me. And they were selling them for 300 pesos a pop back in 2013, which was the last year they had them in stock. And guess what? They don't have them in stock now. They threw them all away. So yeah, nobody can help me with getting these monitors because people in the US cannot be bothered to pack one monitor to like a shipping crate and with lots of padding so it will survive the shipment and then deliver it to the post office. They can't be bothered to do that, or at least the morons that I have contact with. And even if I give them lots of money and burn lots of money, even though I give them lots of money to get for all the troubles on top of the ridiculous shipping costs I'm going to pay to get that damn monitor delivered all the way to Pinay land. And well, none of the surplus stores will help me with this either, because they say their supplier will just immediately send them to China to get them recycled, which basically destroys them. Stupid. And I really wanted to go back to like a 21-incher CRT, especially when I do graphics design, because I feel like an absolute fucking queer doing graphics design on a stupid LCD. Yeah, I have an IPS, but it's not very good. It actually exhibits noise, even though it's using DVI on the damn thing. I don't know if it's the Quadro 4000 of my workstation that's causing that like weird ripple pattern on some color that I can see in certain colors, or the monitor is just a cheap piece of trash. Well, it's an Asus. Won't surprise me if it's really a cheap piece of trash. I don't know. I have to check that some more, to be honest. But still, I want to go back to 21-inch, 1600 by 1200, 85 hertz, good contrast, 100% picture update or whatever you call it, where when there's like rapid picture update movement going on, it's a solid picture. Whereas on an LCD, it actually ghosts a little. Even though it's an active matrix, it still ghosts a little bit like a passive matrix display. Even if it's like a 144 and also the upcoming 200 hertz displays. Yeah, damn it! And no one's making OLED monitors, or they're quite rare because OLED burns in faster than plasma display probably, but they burn in quite fast. That makes them impractical for use in desktops really, because after a few weeks or months or a year, you'll get burning of your damn taskbar, for example. So yeah, I have no fucking choice. I probably have to go to the damn United States to get those damn big boy monitors from like recyclers, and then somehow figure out a way to deliver them back here. But that would require burning a massive crater through my wallet and bank account just to be able to get a damn CRT monitor. So yeah, it sucks. You don't have much of a choice, to be honest. And what's more annoying is that there are people who these things are so abundant they could get it easily, and then what's insulting is sometimes they would use it on their like 386 or 486 systems. Basically, a computer that cannot output at their highest resolution or their native resolution, usually 1600 by 1200. They would just use it on those, and then, or worse, they would just use it on like a game console with like a VGA upscaler of some kind, which, to be honest, is just a waste of an otherwise good monitor. Stick it to your main computer, you morons. It's worth it. It's a really good display for work, unless you're using one of those super cheap cardboard tables from IKEA that could not bear the weight of a 21-incher. A good thing for me, my table is actually made of solid wood, built by my dad many years ago. So yeah, my monitor just stand there. So yeah, no more CRT related videos anytime soon. The last one's going to be the HD CRT, unfortunately. Which, by the way, that TV has actually been promoted as a living room TV now. So that's nice. I've been using it extensively, playing through Spyro Reignited. I've already played through the first game, going through the second game. It looks absolutely amazing on that TV. Even though it's running in 1080i, it still looks gorgeous. It looks way better than that stupid Devant that used to sit there for a decade, or if not longer. Yeah, website updates. Unfortunately, I could no longer host my own shit now because my internet provider has implemented a new networking scheme for their clients, where I've been told it's like a forced NAT, where the IP address I'm getting from the provider is no longer global. So if I like open up my ports and then I try to make some crappy else, try to connect to my supposedly global IP address, well, it doesn't work anymore. I don't get any incoming connections anymore. So I'm basically screwed. I could not host my own crap, which sucks because I was planning to do more with this kind of setup of hosting my own crap. Oh yeah, it sucks. I could no longer do that anymore. But fortunately, I don't think it, before I go into that, I don't think that force NAT thing has something to do with like privacy bullshit. I think it's more to do with getting around IP exhaustion issues, to be honest. And yeah, it sucks. I could no longer host my own crap without paying who knows how much to get a real IP address, which I probably can't get unless I have a crap load of government permits and other bullshit just to get that. Get a real global IP now. So yeah, fortunately, Ryan of IRIX Network offered to host crap for me, which I greatly appreciate because I basically have no other option if I'm stuck with this situation, and I don't want to spend who knows just to get a global IP again. So yeah, no strings attached. He basically gave me a free BSD server with a public IP that I can tie to my domain name. So yeah, thanks very much for that. I would have been toast if it weren't for your help, Ryan. So if you've been checking my website from time to time, you would have seen my post on that there. Also, I've changed my domain name to lameguy64.net now because my old TK domain has expired. I think late January. And when I went to try to renew it, well, it turns out I have to pay for it, and it costs more than paying for a .net domain. So, well, instead of going for that, which is strange because it's strange because, well, others told me they didn't have to pay for renewing their TK domain whatsoever. Freenom claimed lameguy64 is now a dictionary word. Really? lameguy64 is now a dictionary word? So yeah, yeah, it's strange. So, well, I decided to just pay for a .net domain. It's cheaper, and I paid 2 years, so it should last. So, yeah, my website's now on lameguy64.net. So if you thought that I disappeared because you could no longer access my website through lameguy64.tk, nope, I just changed domain. If you were keeping up in my Discord server, you would have known by now. So, yeah, to be honest, I don't really care if I sounded more like a dick in this video because, well, for some strange reason, I want to be denied of 1K subs because self-destructive desires for some reason. And then, like, the sort of, like, makes fun of, like, internet norms and trends, even if it's shit I'm not supposed to be annoyed by or make fun of, so I get annoyed by it less if I make fun of it. So yeah, I don't really care. I would like to see losing at least 100 subscribers after uploading this video, but I doubt that'll happen. I think most of my subscribers are like the same case I had with Deviant Crap, where I had 100 watchers, but only like 3 or 5 actually pay attention to what I'm doing, which makes the point of watching me or following me around like creeps rather pointless, to be honest. And, well, I don't want to participate in a stupid art scene, even though I'm probably the problem to begin with. So yeah, I probably do a service to them, turning my back on them. No point participating in art. Also, one more update on my website. I've added a drawing gallery of some description. It's pretty simplistic, but it does the job. And it does something that no other mainstream art website can do, like Deviant Crap or E621 or Fur Affinity, is that my website, I can actually post vector images on that thing, even though it's super basic and it's only a personal thing where it doesn't support users, it doesn't support comments because my hosting policy is do not allow internet people to contact or communicate, because anti-social policy. So yeah, yeah, I now have like a little. I don't have much posted there, but I have. But the ones I posted there are all vectors at the moment, including some random magical girl thing that was made as a joke thing. Or something. I plan to do. Reason why I implemented this is because I still want to draw stupid crap that nobody probably would even care. Assuming it's even called it artistic merit. I don't call myself an artist. My crap's probably just stupid crap doodles whatsoever. Anyway, it doesn't look pretty, or at least I think it doesn't look pretty. So yeah, I plan to do some drawing stuff. That's why I'm upset that I can't get the CRT now. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, I only my monitor's breaking down. Well, the only monitors I have that are working is this AOC I have here, and then the CTX from my 386. So yeah, drawing gallery on my website. I would most likely not post much, if at all. But I will try to get around posting some of my old crap there too, if anyone still cares. Really, I might also do some more stupid drawing streams as well. So yeah, oh yeah, PS Noob SDK. Well, I've implemented full CD-ROM support into it since November. Not just any full CD-ROM support, like you can actually play XA audio and CD audio tracks now. Got it working, but playback is crap because disk is crap or burned by a crap burner. And it's all the implementation does not use the BIOS CD-ROM subsystem whatsoever. It's all original implementation, written with a good chunk of MIPS assembly, but also a decent chunk of C as well. So yeah, PS Noob is just getting better and better. Recently I've released an update that adds the ability to query directory contents of a CD, which will be useful for utility style homebrew and whatnot. So yeah, PS Noob is just getting better and better, but to be honest, I still find it a bit disappointing. No one has really contributed to the to the main PlayStation related libraries. Well, I can't blame them because, people who have delved into, who know the ins and outs of the PS1 hardware like I do at the back of their hand, are quite rare now, sadly. So yeah, PS Noob is just getting better and better. Future videos, I'm gonna most certainly do a video of the Toshiba libretto, assuming anyone's interested, with old computers and whatnot. I also plan to do more old computer related stuff, something I haven't really delved into. I've noticed some people apparently haven't noticed that I actually still kept on working on PS Noob SDK, and they thought I stopped working on the project after I released the video last year. No, I'm still using it. I'm still working on the damn thing. Like I said, I don't know. I always mention updates at the ends of my videos usually, because I'm not the sort who makes little video after little video whenever some new little thing gets added into PS Noob SDK. I rather just round them up in one big video. And if you want to keep up to date with what's going on with PS Noob SDK, just observe the GitHub repository and check the changelog. Because I list pretty much every single update I've made to the SDK on that. So yeah, I'm actually still working on that thing. Sometimes it feels absolutely daunting working on the damn SDK because it's so fucking big. There's just so many things now. That's why I tend to focus on little things about the SDK, like the individual libraries. And so I would like if more people contribute to the project, because it's starting to wear on me. I might consider taking a huge break with that project and focus on Project Scarlet, or what's now called Project Scarlet Engine now, because Microsoft took Project Scarlet for their next generation Xbox, which is apparently that fridge looking thing. So yeah, it's now called Scarlet Engine. I'm gonna focus more on the 3D modeling and animation stuff. It's something that it was very lacking in the my last attempts. And you could already make a game with just the model and animation stuff alone. It would be a rather simplistic one, but it would be much more presentable than a 3D model that's stuck in a T-pose spinning around the map. So yeah, I'm gonna put the 3D rendering of level geometry in the back burner because I honestly find it to be quite complicated. That's why I eventually took a break from working on Scarlet, because I could not figure out how to render the terrain efficiently. And I kind of don't want to go into BSP stuff, because that demands being able to draw large polygons and expect it to Z-clip properly, which the PS1 clearly can't do. So yeah, Scarlet Engine, something about it might come out at some point, hopefully. I'm not sure when I'll take a break on PS Noob SDK. So yeah, as I was saying, I'm not gonna do video after video on PS Noob SDK. This is not PS Noob SDK channel. This is Lame Guy 64. I can do whatever the fuck I want in this channel, as long as it's informative, because I like making informative videos. I try to correct morons, or document shit and whatnot. So yeah, Scarlet Engine. Yeah, I think there's just not much else to say. I don't want to keep this post-video rambling too long. So yeah, also that thing that you've been hearing, probably, well, that's a theme I've recently made. using something other than Adlib Tracker 2. Remember that CZ5000 that I got early of last year? Well, I'm actually making music with that thing now. Using Cakewalk, an old computer and a Cakewalk to sequence. I cannot play piano very well, but I rather just sequence stuff. I cannot play piano properly. I can do some chords, but I don't know, the trickier sequences where your hands press keys asynchronously. That's where I fall flat in my face. So yeah, I expect a video of that at some point, preferably once I get some sort of album artwork for that theme, and maybe also another theme that I'm going to make as well. Probably a remake of one of my old Adlib Tracker 2 themes, but with CZ5000 goodness. I also want to use my Korg Poly 800 some more, but I don't have the space to use it. I might try to modify my already battered keyboard stand that appears to have come from a disaster because it had a chunk of piano stuck on it. But yeah, I'm gonna try to modify that so I could put my Korg underneath it, assuming I can support the weight of the Korg. Though the Korg is a lot lighter than the CZ5K. So yeah. Also, the CZ5000 is the oldest thing I have in this room. That thing is likely from the 1980s. It still works. Because it was made in the 1980s. Old things tend to last ages. Yeah, I like that thing. I'm actually learning how to use this synth engine. The theme you're hearing right now, there's only like one user program I made, but I've made another sound or more that sounds quite, pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to using them in new videos, new music stuff. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all there is to say, to be honest. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video and found it informative. So NY64 is signing out, and have a good day.